You remember something no one else in your office quite understands. You remember silence, not the silence of a dead phone battery, not a Wi-Fi outage. Real silence, the kind that stretched across an entire Saturday afternoon when you were 10. Nothing to do, nowhere to be, no screen to rescue you. And somehow, that was completely fine. You filled it yourself, with your bike, with boredom, with an imagination that had no other choice but to run. That silence shaped your brain in ways science is only now beginning to measure. Then, almost overnight, it ended forever. There is exactly one generation alive today whose brain was built in two completely different worlds, not shaped by one, not adapted to another, fundamentally constructed by both. Born analog, rewired digital, two operating systems, one mind. If you were born between 1980 and 1989, that is you. Neuroscience calls it neural plasticity. Early experiences don't just shape how you think, they physically become how you think. Saturday morning, cereal with a toy surprise you'd been digging for all week. Transformers, Rugrats, Hey Arnold, cartoons that aired once and were gone. No streaming, no replay. You either caught it or missed it forever. Then outside. Not because anyone told you to, because outside was where life happened. You knocked on your friend's door. Actually knocked, talked to their mom, waited. No text first, just showing up and hoping. You disappeared for hours, scraped knees nobody photographed, came home when the streetlights came on, because that was the rule. Fast, physical, real, unrecorded. That world built three things into your brain that cannot be installed later in life: patience, deep focus, and the ability to read people face to face in real time with no edit button. That was your foundation, solid, analog, complete. And then, right in the middle of adolescence, the single most psychologically fragile window of human development, someone rewired the entire house while you were still living in it. Dial-up arrived. That horrible, magnificent, screeching sound. You waited 4 minutes for a web page and thought it was miraculous. Chat rooms, aim-away messages crafted like poetry, a song lyric, an inside joke, cryptic enough that your crush might wonder. MySpace, HTML, learned just to look different from everyone else. Then Facebook stripped all of it away. Clean, uniform, everyone in the same template. Then smartphones. Then the place you used to visit became the place you lived. Psychologists call this cognitive code switching, shifting between two entirely different mental frameworks. Most people do it with language. You do it with entire realities. Every day, your brain runs two operating systems simultaneously. One that craves stillness, one trained for noise, one that wants depth, one that knows how to scroll, one that remembers privacy, one that has learned to perform. That tension is not a character flaw. It is the psychological cost of being the Hinge generation, the ones who stood at the exact moment everything flipped, adapting in real time, at the exact age when identity was still wet cement. There was also the promise: study hard, work hard, follow the path. Your parents believed it, because for them it worked. Houses at 25 on single incomes, one company, 30 years, a pension. But 80s babies didn't all hit the same wall at the same moment. Born 1980 to 1984, you graduated directly into the wreckage of 2008, degree in one hand, loan invoice in the other, and no jobs waiting. Entry-level positions requiring 5 years of experience nobody had. You moved back home, watched your degree collect dust, born 1985 to 1989. You got the hangover, not the collapse. Gutted recovery, stagnant wages, unaffordable housing. 40 years old, still doing the math on whether renting makes more sense. Different timing, same result. Your parents bought homes. You bought the belief that if you worked hard enough, you would too. Turns out the belief was cheaper, and it didn't appreciate in value. Research identifies this as permanent wage scarring, not a temporary setback, but a lasting reduction in lifetime earning potential that doesn't correct when the economy recovers. It follows you. They called it bad timing. Your nervous system called it betrayal. And when you pointed at the broken math, they called you lazy, entitled, told you to make smarter choices. So quietly, almost without realizing it, you wondered if maybe they were right. You internalized a failure that was never yours. That is not weakness. That is what happens when the story you were given about the world stops matching the world you actually live in. Psychologists who study belonging, including Dr. Brené Brown, have shown that the need to be seen and named within a group is not vanity. It is a fundamental human need. When shared experiences are never given language, it produces ambiguous grief, a loss without a name that has nowhere to go. Gen X sees you as millennial. Millennials see you as slightly out of sync. Neither fully claims you. You are the Hinge generation. And here is the honest truth about hinges. Nobody notices them. They notice the door. They notice the room. The hinge makes the movement possible and is the last thing anyone looks at. Essential, invisible, never quite the story anyone is telling. That dual operating system produced something neither generation on either side of you possesses. You are the most cognitively adaptable generation alive. Not because adaptability was your gift, because it was your only option. You understand why the 55-year-old resists new software. You understand why the 24-year-old can't imagine working without it. You translate not just technology, entire mindsets, values, ways of seeing. Organizational psychologists call this boundary spanning. For you, it was never a skill you built. It was simply what your life required. You also carry something quietly disappearing, the memory of depth. You know what it feels like to be genuinely unreachable, to sit with a thought until it finishes, to exist in a room without performing for it. In a world of engineered distraction, that memory is not nostalgia. It is a cognitive advantage that cannot be downloaded. The hinge doesn't get celebrated. But without it, nothing opens. If this finally gave language to something you've been carrying without words, subscribe. The next video might explain something about yourself you've been trying to figure out for years. Drop your birth year below, 1980 through 1989. Let's find out how many of us exist in this space between worlds.